I've been a 911 dispatcher for 10 years. Last night I got a call which made me quit forever. The call came in at 2:43 a.m. on a Thursday, which should have been my first warning because nothing good ever happens at 2:43 a.m. I'd been working the overnight shift at the County Emergency Dispatch Center for a decade, and I developed an instinct for calls that would ruin your night versus calls that would ruin your life. This one felt different the moment the line connected, not because of what was said, but because of what I heard in the background. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. No ambient noise, no breathing, no static, just a void that felt like it was pulling sound into itself rather than transmitting it. Then a voice, elderly and male, with the kind of gentle politeness that reminded me of my grandfather. Hello dear, I'm terribly sorry to bother you at this hour, but I need to report that I've died. Could you send someone to collect my body? I'm at 1847 Rosewood Lane, and I'm afraid I'm making quite a mess on the carpet. The words were so matter-of-fact, delivered with such apologetic courtesy, that my brain took a full 3 seconds to process what he'd actually said. I'm trained for panic, for confusion, for people who can barely speak through their terror. I'm not trained for someone calmly reporting their own death like they're calling about a missed trash pickup. My first thought was dementia, or a confused elderly person having some kind of mental health crisis, which happens more often than people realize. I kept my voice steady and professional, the tone I'd perfected over thousands of calls. Sir, this is 911 Emergency Services. Can you tell me your name and describe what's happening? Are you injured? There was a pause, and I could hear what sounded like a gentle sigh. My name was Harold Finch, dear, and no, I'm not having trouble breathing because I'm not breathing at all anymore. I had a heart attack approximately 40 minutes ago while watching the evening news, and I've been sitting here in my armchair ever since. I know you're terribly busy, but someone really should come collect me before I start to smell. The way he said it, so practical and considerate, made my skin crawl in a way I couldn't articulate. I glanced at my screen, checking the call origin data that usually populated automatically, but the location field was blank, just showing unknown where the address should have been. I tried a different approach, thinking maybe this was an elaborate prank. Mr. Finch, I need you to tell me if you're experiencing any pain or discomfort right now. Another pause, longer this time, and when he spoke again, there was something almost amused in his tone. Well, I suppose physically I'm quite stiff, which is to be expected given the circumstances. My left arm is still clutching the remote control, though I can't seem to let go of it now. There's a rather unpleasant smell starting to develop, and I believe my cat, Whiskers, has been nibbling on my ankle, though I can't blame her since I forgot to fill her food bowl before I died. I felt my stomach turn over because the details were too specific, too matter-of-fact to be a prank. Pranksters usually go for shock value or try to get a reaction. They don't provide mundane details about pet feeding schedules and furniture positioning. I pulled up the address database and typed in 1847 Rosewood Lane, which immediately populated with resident information. Harold Finch, age 73, widower, no emergency contacts listed, no previous 911 calls from this address in the system history. Mr. Finch, I'm sending police and emergency medical services to your address right now. I need you to stay on the line with me until they arrive. I'd already flagged the call for immediate dispatch, sending units to the address with a note about possible mental health crisis, but my screen showed an error message I'd never seen before. Location verification failed, unable to route emergency services. I stared at the message, trying to understand what it meant, because in 10 years of dispatching, I'd never seen the system simply refuse to send help. Harold's voice came back through my headset, still patient, still apologetic. Oh, I'm afraid I can't stay on the line much longer, dear. There are others waiting to call, and it wouldn't be fair to monopolize your time, but I did want to make sure someone knew about my body. My daughter lives in California, and I'd hate for her to fly back and find me like this. The spare key is under the ceramic frog by the front door, if that helps your officers get inside. Thank you so much for your assistance. Then the line went dead, just clicked off, and my screen showed the call had lasted exactly 3 minutes and 17 seconds. I sat there staring at my console, trying to process what had just happened. The rational part of my brain said this was a prank, or a confused elderly man who wasn't actually dead, but something deeper and more instinctive was screaming that I'd just experienced something fundamentally wrong. I manually entered the address into the dispatch system, bypassing the automatic routing, and sent a welfare check request with high priority. 2 patrol units acknowledged and confirmed they were en route. Estimated arrival in 8 minutes. I logged the call details and flagged it for supervisor review, typing out a summary that sounded insane. Caller reported his own death, provided specific details, call terminated before EMS could be routed. Request immediate welfare check. My supervisor, Linda Kovac, appeared behind my station within 2 minutes, reading over my shoulder. You wrote that a dead man called 911? Her tone wasn't accusatory, just confused, and I explained as best I could about the call's content and the strange system error that had prevented normal routing. Linda had been supervising dispatch for 20 years, and she'd seen everything, but she looked genuinely puzzled by this one. Pull up the call recording, she said, leaning closer to my screen. Let's hear exactly what this guy said. And that's when things took a turn I never expected. Full story is linked below or on my channel.